Valen Prime was a quiet trade station floating near the edge of neutral space. It was known for peaceful cargo exchanges and routine diplomatic meetings. Nothing exciting happened there that changed when a massive black warship arrived without warning. The ship was sharp like a blade and twice the size of any other cruiser docked at the station. Its engines roared like a thunderstorm as it slowed down and locked onto the docking bay. The name of the ship appeared in red lights across the control tower. It was called Blood Rain inside the command room of Velen Prime. Alarms flashed. Commander Harris looked up from his report and frowned. He pressed the emergency comm button. "All staff to alert level 1, he said. "This is not a drill." People ran across the station hallways, securing panels and closing blast doors. Security droids moved into place as station guards received their weapons. In the center of it all stood Tom, Earth's new diplomatic attaché. He was young, quiet, and still adjusting to life in space. This was only his second month on the job. Tom turned to his assistant, a short man named Gil, who owns that ship. He asked. Gil's face turned pale. "That ship belongs to Empress Threxia," he said, "leader of the Krail Empire." Tom blinked. "The War Empress." Gil nodded slowly. "She is more than a warrior," he said. "She leads the strongest fleet in this galaxy." "And she's coming here?" Tom asked. Gil whispered. "Yes, and worse, she's entering mating season." Tom frowned. "What does that mean?" Gil leaned in close. "Krail biology is different," he said. "During this season, their instincts grow strong and unstable. It's like a storm in their body. Most of them isolate themselves during this time, but Threxia is not like most." Tom felt a cold chill on his neck. He looked at the window. The massive warship had stopped. Moving a boarding bridge extended from its side to the station gate, and a group of armored figures began to walk across. Commander Harris stormed into the room. "All Earth diplomats must remain in the East Wing," he shouted. "No one is to speak to the Empress unless called." Tom nodded, but something about the moment pulled at him. He didn't know why. He stepped back as the airlock opened and the Krail group entered. The Krail guards were tall with heavy dark armor and glowing eyes. They moved in perfect steps. At the center of their formation walked a figure in deep red armor. She had no helmet. Her skin was silver blue, and her eyes glowed like fire. Each step she took echoed like thunder in the chamber. Everyone on the station froze. Empress Threxia had arrived. She stopped in front of Commander Harris and looked around. Her voice was strong and calm. "Where is the human envoy?" she said. Harris bowed quickly. "Your Highness, our human representatives are not available at the moment." Threxia tilted her head slightly. Her gaze scanned the room and landed on Tom. She pointed at him. "That one," she said. "I want to speak to him." Tom's heart stopped. He stepped forward slowly. Harris looked like he was about to say something, but stayed silent. This was not a moment to argue with the Empress. Tom stood in front of her and gave a slight bow. "I am Tom, Earth diplomat assigned to Velen Prime," he said. "It is an honor to meet you." Threxia stared at him for a long moment. Her eyes seemed to read him like a book. "No fear," she said. "Curious." Tom didn't answer. He didn't know what to say. "You will. Come with me," she said. Tom looked at Harris. Harris gave a tight nod. He didn't like it, but he had no choice. Threxia turned and walked back toward her ship. Tom followed beside her. The Krail guards formed a wall behind them. As they stepped onto the boarding bridge, Gil whispered from the side, "She has never chosen a human before." The doors closed and the sound of silence returned to Velen Prime. Inside the warship, Tom looked around. The ship was made of metal and bone. The lights were dim and the walls pulsed, like veins. Strange sounds echoed through the halls. Threxia led him to a chamber that looked like a throne room. It was cold and quiet. She sat on a large seat and pointed at the center of the room. "Stand there," she said. Tom obeyed. She looked at him. Closely, "You are not strong," she said. "You are not fast, but you stood without fear." Tom took a breath. "I do not understand why I am here," he said. She leaned forward. "You were chosen. You will be tested. You will either survive or be forgotten." Tom looked at her. Tested how? She stood up slowly. Her presence filled the room like fire. Krail mating season is not soft. It is fire and lightning, it breaks many. But I sense a different strength in you. Tom did not move. He knew this was not about romance. This was about endurance. About control and trust. Threxia raised her hand and a circle of red light formed on the floor. "Let the trial begin," she said. And with that, the true storm began. Tom stood still in the red light circle. He could feel a strange heat rise through the floor under his boots. The room around him was quiet, but he sensed pressure in the air. The Empress stared at him without blinking. She watched like a warrior. "Watches a battlefield. Most would have fallen by now," she said. Tom stayed silent. His heart was beating fast, but his face was calm. "Do you know why I brought you here?" Threxia asked. Tom shook his head. "I do not." She stepped down from her throne and walked slowly toward him. Her armor moved like living metal. "You are not strong, you are not Krail, but your eyes did not look away," Tom answered carefully. "Fear does not help me. Understanding does." Threxia raised one eyebrow. "Words with weight, like that?" She circled him once around them. The chamber lights pulsed like a heartbeat. "You are now part of the rite," she said. "A trial only a few are invited to. I have entered the season. My mind will twist, my strength will rise. I need a partner who can match the storm." Tom frowned. "I am not built like your kind." "You are not," she said. "But storms are not only broken by strength, sometimes they are stopped by calm." She lifted a metal ring from a box beside the throne. It had lines that moved like fire inside glass. She placed it in Tom's hand. "This is a control band. It measures your energy, your reaction, your truth." Tom placed it on his wrist. It closed around his skin and tightened slightly. Small lights turned green. "I have chosen you," Threxia said. "My generals will not approve. They see humans as soft. But I see something else in you. You will face trials, and if you succeed, you will stand beside me during the storm." Tom nodded. He did not fully understand, but he felt the weight of her words later. Inside the Krail warship's guest chamber, Tom sat alone. The walls were curved like bones. The air smelled like iron and salt. He replayed the moment in his mind. He had not asked for this. But something deep inside him stirred. A challenge. A purpose. The door slid open. Gil entered, breathing hard. "You are alive! I can't believe it!" Tom stood up. "She chose me." "What does that mean in Krail law?" Gil looked nervous. "It means you are her candidate. She must test you mentally and physically. If you pass, you become her balancing anchor. During the peak season, if you fail, you will be forgotten. Some have not survived." Tom stayed calm. "Then I must not fail." Gil grabbed his shoulder. "Do you even know what she is?" "Threxia is not just a warrior. She is a symbol. Half of her empire watches. Her every move. And now they are watching you." Tom looked out the window at the stars. "Then I will give them something to see." Across the ship. In the War Council room, Krail generals stood in a circle. They wore ancient armor and masks shaped like beasts. One of them slammed his hand on the table. "A human! She chose a human." Another growled, "This is madness. We have trained warriors ready for her, and she brings in a soft-skin, General Drava." The oldest among them stood still. "She sees something. We do not understand it. But the Empress never chooses without reason." One of the younger generals stepped forward. If the human fails, he will bring shame. If he passes, he will change everything, Drava nodded. Then let him try. Let the fire burn him or forge him. That night, Tom was taken to the preparation chamber. He wore a simple suit with motion sensors. Inside the room were 3 glowing doors. Each door led to a test. A voice echoed through the chamber. First trial begins now. The left door opened. Tom stepped through inside. He faced a shifting maze made of light and shadow. Each wall moved. Each step required balance and timing. The floor changed shape beneath him. Laser beams shot from random points. Tom stayed focused. He did not run. He moved with rhythm and patience. He ducked under beams. He slid through gaps. And after 20 long minutes, he reached the end. Second door opened. This room was cold and dark. A giant, Krail warrior stood in the center holding a spear. "You must disarm me," the warrior said. "No weapons, only your mind and motion." Tom circled the warrior. He watched the way the Krail held his weight. He noticed one weak spot. The back foot was slower. He ran forward, faked a step, then rolled under the spear, grabbed the lower handle, twisted and kicked. The warrior lost grip and fell. Tom picked up the spear and handed it back. The warrior stood up. "You have skill, but more than that, you think before you act." Third door opened. This was the hardest room, a mental simulation chamber. Images and sounds flashed rapidly, painful memories, fear, lost confusion. Tom stood inside the storm. He clenched his hands and took deep breaths. He thought of Earth. He thought of peace. He thought of why he was here, after what felt like hours. The lights faded, a voice spoke, "Trial complete." Tom walked out. Threxia waited for him outside the chamber. "You are still here?" she said. "I am." Tom replied, "You passed all 3. "Do you know what that means?" she asked. Tom looked into her eyes. "I become part of the next storm," she nodded slowly. "You will stand beside me when it comes, and it will come soon." The sun over Krail Prime burned red as Tom stood at the edge of the battle arena. He had faced many strange things since the Empress had chosen him, but this was different. This was the trial of flame. The arena was wide and shaped like a circle. Surrounded by stone towers and glowing banners, thousands of Krail citizens had gathered in silence to watch. Above them, high on the royal balcony, Empress Threxia sat on her throne. Her eyes followed Tom's every move. Tom wore simple armor provided by the palace. It was light, flexible, and covered only vital areas. He carried no weapons. None were allowed during the trial. Gil stood beside him at the gate. "Are you sure about this?" he asked in a worried voice. "They expect you to fall within the first minute." Tom looked. Straight ahead. "I didn't come this far to quit." Gil sighed. "Remember, this is not just a fight. This is a message to the entire Krail Empire." A horn blasted in the air. The gate in front of Tom opened with a heavy metal sound. The announcer's voice echoed through the arena. First challenger, Thunok of the Red Spine, 5-time champion of the Northern Pits. A giant Krail warrior stepped into the arena. His skin was dark gray, with red lines running across his arms. He roared and slammed his fists. Into the ground, Tom stepped forward. He didn't run. He didn't charge. He waited. Thunok rushed at him with a speed that didn't match his size. Tom dodged to the side. The ground shook from the impact. He remembered Threxia's words. This was not about power. It was about control. Tom stayed light on his feet. He used the energy boots hidden inside his suit. They gave him short bursts of speed. He used one to jump over Thunok and tap the back of his neck. Thunok turned with anger and tried to grab him. Tom ducked under the arm and kicked the back of his leg. Thunok fell to one knee. The crowd gasped. Tom stood in front of him and raised one hand. "Enough, you are strong, but strength alone does not win this trial." Thunok looked at him for a moment, then stood up slowly and nodded. He turned and walked out of the arena. The announcer paused before speaking again. "First round complete, the human advances." The second gate opened. This time a beast walked in. It had 4 legs, 2 long tails, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. Its body was covered in green armor. Plates. Tom narrowed his eyes. There was no way to fight this thing head-on. He started to move sideways, watching its steps. It was fast and angry. The beast charged. Tom ran to the side and used his boots to leap onto one of the arena stones. The beast crashed into the wall and turned around quickly. Tom picked up a loose stone from the ground. He threw it toward one of the arena pillars. It hit a small metal panel. A burst of steam came out. The beast got distracted and looked at the sound. Tom ran forward and jumped onto its back. He pressed his suit controls and activated a shock pulse. The beast roared and dropped to the ground. The crowd was silent. Then a slow wave of applause began. Even some of the Krail generals stood to clap. Tom walked back to the center of the arena. His breath was heavy, his legs hurt. But he was still standing. The announcer spoke again. Final challenge, the mirror duel. A third figure entered the arena. Tom stared in surprise. It looked like a copy of himself, same size, same armor, same boots, even the same face, a training droid with full mimic tech. Tom raised his hands. The mirror raised its hands. Tom moved right, so did the mirror. He waited, then made a sudden step forward and ducked low. The mirror copied it, but slower. Tom tested a few more moves. He realized the copy was delayed by half a second. That was the key. He made a fake strike with his left, then turned and used his right leg to sweep. Low. The mirror copy followed. But Tom was already inside its defense range. He jumped behind it and tapped the control panel on its neck. The mirror froze. The crowd roared. From the royal balcony, Threxia stood up. She raised her hand and the arena lights dimmed. "The trial is complete," she said. "The human has passed all 3 flames. He has faced strength, he has faced wild rage, he has faced himself, and he did not fall." Tom stood in the center of the arena, covered in dust, tired, but alive. Threxia walked down from the balcony and entered the arena herself. The guards stepped aside as she approached him. "You stood in fire and did not burn. You faced your own shadow and did not run. You are ready for the next phase." Tom nodded. He didn't smile. He just looked her in the eye. "What comes next?" he asked. She turned and pointed to the night sky above. "The storm is rising and you will stand in the heart of it," as the crowd chanted his name. Tom realized he was no longer just a guest. He was now part of something much larger. The Empress had made her choice, and the Empire had witnessed it. Dark clouds rolled over the sky of Krail Prime. Lightning flashed in long lines across the red horizon. The storm season had begun. But this was not just a weather change. This was something far deeper. This was the beginning of the Empress's peak season inside the royal palace. Guards stood double at every gate. Energy fields surrounded the throne chamber. Even high-ranking generals were kept at a distance. In the center of a sealed chamber stood Empress Threxia. She had removed her armor. Now she wore ceremonial gear made of black crystal and silver wires. Her eyes glowed brighter than before. Her skin pulsed with red light beneath the surface. Her breathing was sharp, her energy unstable. Tom stood on the other side of the chamber. His suit was updated with bioreaders. It showed the pressure rising in the air. The temperature increased by 1 degree every 5 seconds. Gil watched from the control room behind a glass wall. "Her energy is rising too fast," he said. "If it breaks past level 9, she could lose control." The Krail healers stood silent. They had never seen this combination before. A human inside the peak storm. No Krail consort had ever allowed this. But Threxia had made her choice. Tom had passed every trial, and now the final test had begun. Threxia turned toward Tom. Her voice echoed with a strange mix of power and emotion. "Do you fear me now?" Tom stayed calm. "I see you. I see what you carry, and I am still here." She walked slowly toward him. The energy in her body shook the floor. Lights flickered across. "The ceiling, I can no longer control it," she said. "My mind is a storm. My heart burns. If you stay, you risk everything." Tom raised his hand. "Then let the storm come. Let it show me who you truly are." A wave of force burst from her body. It knocked over a metal pillar. But Tom stood still. His boots held him steady. He took a step forward. Threxia closed her eyes. Her hands trembled. She clenched her fists and dropped to her knees. "This is the pain we never speak of. The Krail. Rage, the pressure to stay strong, even when our body turns against us." Tom knelt in front of her. He took a small device from his belt. It was a neural stabilizer. He placed it gently on the back of her neck. The device lit up and connected to his wristband. "Let me carry a part of this with you," he said. "Balance needs two sides." The lights in the chamber turned blue. The pulse rate on the screen slowed down. Gil leaned forward in surprise. "It's working. Her energy is syncing with his neural waves." Inside the chamber, Threxia opened her eyes. They were calmer now, still bright, but no longer wild. She looked at Tom with something rare in Krail culture, a sign of gratitude. "You are not like the others," she said. "You did not try to stop the storm. You walked into it and gave it shape." Tom helped her stand. Their hands touched, and for a moment, all noise faded later. In the central hall, Krail generals gathered again. Some looked angry, others confused, but none could deny what they had seen on the monitors. General Drava spoke first. "She has entered peak phase, and the human still stands." Another general hissed. "This changes everything if humans can match our Empress. Then what is the future of Krail's strength?" Drava raised his hand. "Do not fear it. See it for what it is. We are not becoming weaker. We are becoming more." In the royal garden, Threxia and Tom walked side by side. The storm outside had passed, but a new kind of quiet filled the air. Tom looked up at the sky. "You said the storm could not be controlled, only shared." Threxia nodded. "True strength is not about breaking others. It is about not breaking yourself when tested." She stopped and turned to him. "You passed the trial of flame. You stood in the core of my storm. You have earned more than just my respect." Tom didn't speak. He waited. She continued. "From this moment, you are no longer a guest. You are my equal in this balance. Your words carry weight in the High Council. Your presence will change how others see Earth." Tom nodded slowly. "I will use it with care." She smiled. For the first time, it was not the smile of a ruler. It was the smile of someone who had found peace. After fire, in the distance, drums began to play. The news had spread, the Empress had chosen her balance, and it was human. Across the Krail Empire, eyes turned toward Earth, no longer as observers, but as allies. A week had passed since the storm trial ended. The Krail capital was calm from the outside, but deep within the royal city, not everyone was pleased. In a hidden chamber beneath the ancient tower, a group of Krail nobles met in secret. Their eyes were sharp, their voices cold. "The human has grown too close," said one of them. "He walks beside the Empress as if he were one of us. He is not one of us," said another. "He is a soft outsider chosen during her peak season. She was not thinking clearly." She calls him equal. If this continues, others will begin to question the old ways. General Velcor, known for his brutal tactics, stepped into the light. We must remove the human quietly. No blood in the palace, but it must be done soon, the room agreed. They began planning. Tom had no idea what was building against him. He was busy helping Threxia with daily reports and military briefings. Though the Empress was strong and confident, she allowed Tom to ask questions others could not. He studied Krail battle maps. He gave advice on peace talks with minor planets, and most of all, he listened. Krail officers slowly began to respect him, not for his strength, but for his strategy. He didn't fight like them. He thought differently. One night, while working late in the data chamber, Tom noticed something strange. A message had been flagged in the security logs, encrypted marked as routine maintenance, but the timing was odd. He decrypted it slowly. The message was short. Phase 1 begins. At next dusk, target must be separated from Empress. Success required. Tom sat still for a moment, then quickly erased the trace of his access. He walked to Threxia's quarters without delay. 2 royal guards stepped forward. Tom raised his wristband. I need to speak to her now. They hesitated. Then one of them opened the door. Threxia looked up from her crystal display. You look troubled. Tom stepped in. I found a message. Someone is planning something against me. Maybe against you too. She stood. Slowly. Show me. He replayed the code from memory. Her expression changed. This encryption is used by high command. Only inner circle generals have access to it. She turned to her guards. Call General Drava. Tell him to meet me in the war room. Now within. The hour. Threxia, Tom, and Drava stood in the war chamber. The message was displayed above the table. Drava studied it. This is no common threat. This is a silent coup. They will not strike openly. They want to remove you through shame. Remove him through disappearance. Tom looked at the plan. They want to send me away from the capital, trap me in transport, make it look like an accident. Threxia's voice turned cold. Then we give them a stage, but not the one they expect. She outlined the plan Tom would agree to attend. A peace meeting on the moon base Varnis. It was known for its distance and quiet halls, easy to stage an attack. But this time, the attackers would find the tables turned the next day. Word spread that Tom had accepted the moon base mission. Krail nobles smiled in secret. Their trap was working. Tom boarded the transport with only 2 guards. The ship left the city quietly. No alarms, no suspicion, but hidden in the cargo hold were 4 elite Krail loyalists in stealth suits, trained by Threxia herself. When the ship landed at Varnis, everything looked calm. Until the ambush team arrived at the docking bay, they carried silenced blades and cloaking gear. But before they could reach Tom's room, the loyalists struck from the shadows. Within minutes, the attackers were disarmed and locked inside the base prison. Tom stepped into the chamber. He looked at the leader of the ambush team. You were ready to end me for nothing more than tradition, the Krail assassin hissed. You are a crack in the foundation. You make her weak. Tom shook his head. I don't make her weak. I make her complete. He turned and walked out back at the capital. Threxia stood before the council chamber. She addressed the high nobles with steady voice. A plot was found, a plan to harm the human who stood with me during my storm. The chamber murmured. She raised her hand. I know some of you fear change, but I fear a future where we do not grow. Krail's strength is not only in muscle, it must be in mind, in heart, in unity. She turned as the chamber doors opened. Tom stepped in. Behind him walked the captured attackers. Now in chains, I offer no punishment today, said Threxia. I offer truth, let all of you see it. The world is changing and we must change with it, one by one. Council members lowered their heads. Even those who had doubted her began to see the shift after the meeting. Threxia and Tom stood alone in the hall. You could have stayed quiet, she said. You could have left. Tom looked at her. I don't leave people behind, especially not those who trusted me when no one else did. She nodded. You are not just part of the storm, you are its calm. The great hall of the Krail Palace was filled with tension. Generals and nobles sat on one side, on the other. The Empress stood tall, her silver-blue skin glowing softly in the torchlight. Tom stood beside her, calm and steady. The High Council had gathered for a decision. Threxia had broken tradition. She had chosen Tom, a human, as her consort during the mating season. Many were angry. They said it was a betrayal to Krail, customs and strength. General Velcor spoke first. This cannot stand. The Empress must choose a mate from among Krail warriors. A human is not worthy of the crown. Threxia's eyes burned bright. I am the Empress, and I will choose who stands with me. This is not a weakness, it is our future. Tom stepped forward. My place is not a prize. It is a partnership. Together we bring strength and wisdom. Earth and Krail can build a stronger empire. A murmur ran through the crowd. Some nodded, others whispered doubts. The council demanded proof. If you truly stand equal, prove it. Show us your strength. Threxia nodded. She raised her hand. Then let this meeting be the test, a trial of skill and mind. The arena was prepared once again. This time not for battle, but for strategy and cooperation. Threxia and Tom faced a team of Krail generals. They were given control of battle drones and command centers. The task was to defend the capital from an incoming simulated attack. The generals used every trick, ambushes, decoys. Surprise strikes. Tom remained calm. He coordinated with Threxia. They communicated silently through a neural link. Their moves were perfect, precise. The simulated enemies fell one by one. The council watched in silence. When the trial ended, Threxia and Tom stood victorious. The council was forced to acknowledge Tom was not just a guest. He was a true partner after the trial. Threxia addressed the council again. We will write a new law. A law that honors partnership over bloodline, that welcomes strength in many forms. Tom smiled quietly. This is just the beginning. That night, the palace was filled with celebration, but behind closed doors. Tom and Threxia spoke softly. You could have walked away. Face the council alone. Tom said. She shook her head. I could not. You are my balance, my calm in the storm. He reached out and took her hand. A new path lies ahead for both our worlds. She looked out the window at the stars. The storm has passed. Now the true journey begins. Months passed since the great trial and the council's new law. The Krail Empire was changing fast. Tom had become more than a diplomat. He was now a strategist and a trusted advisor. His presence in the palace was no longer questioned on Krail Prime. The new embassy stood tall and proud. Earth's flag flew beside the Krail banners. The two worlds had begun a new chapter of alliance and friendship. Tom walked through the embassy halls. His steps were steady and sure. He carried the weight of responsibility. With quiet strength, many young Krail officers approached him for advice. He taught them tactics from Earth that were new and effective. They listened and learned eagerly. Empress Threxia watched him with pride. Her reign was stronger than ever. Her storm had passed. Now she ruled with calm power and wisdom one evening. Tom stood on the embassy balcony. The stars above shone bright against the dark sky. Threxia joined him quietly. She wore a simple robe, her silver-blue skin glowing softly in the moonlight. They stood side by side in silence for a moment. Then Threxia spoke. You have changed more than my empire. You have changed me. Tom smiled. And you have changed me too. You showed me what it means to stand in the storm. She turned to face him. Do you remember what Earth calls a love that survives storms? He nodded. We call it fireproof. She reached out and took his hand. For all the storms ahead, we will face them together. Far below, the city lights of Krail Prime flickered like stars above them. The vast universe stretched endlessly. A human and an empress stood together, bound by trust, respect, and a future they would build side by side. The flame that had started with a challenge had grown into a lasting fire, one that no storm could ever put out.